The final week of college baseball is upon us. It's right before the conference championship games. We are ready to go to get this thing underway in terms of the conference tournaments, seeing who's going to be hosting regionals. I can't wait for postseason baseball. I'm Greg Larnerd. That is the wonderful, talented, handsome, there we go. Now my thumb is in the right way. Johnny VTV. What's up, buddy?
What's up, man? How are you? Fashionably late on your part, which is nice. I probably could have ran to Chick-fil-A and got some lunch. Really craving a nice spicy chicken deluxe with some waffle fries and possibly a shake. But yeah,
what's your flavor shake-wise?
Maybe cookies and cream.
You can't go wrong.
It might be that kind of day with a cherry.
You can't go wrong there.
Yeah, nice. I think so. It might be that kind of a day.
Well, you certainly weren't going to run to Chick-fil-A because my man was just, while he was waiting for me, as I was really, at this point, I'm not fashionably late. Like, on time is like 2:15 for me because we get off the air on The Word with G. The girlfriend came by the studio today because I had her on the air. She made her ESPN Chattanooga debut today, so that was cool to kind of share the airwaves and studios with her because she runs this big stadium right down the road from us, and they have like this pickleball thing going on, and they're trying to get the word out about that. So had a little cross promotion today.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So I still haven't played pickleball yet. I don't know.
You haven't?
No, I haven't played pickleball yet. No,
damn, it's a good sport. It's a good sport, dude. Like, you're probably at this point too old and not athletic enough to play tennis. So like pickleball is like perfect, right up your alley.
I'm an athlete. I'm God-given. All I got to do is show up. But
what position did you play?
In what?
Baseball.
Pitcher.
Okay, you were a
pitcher, outfielder. I was like I had like a GPS implanted in my head. I know every single route to take to the ball for maximum efficiency. The way Dylan Cruz is in center field, that's how I was about 12 years ago. That was me.
So Dylan Cruz is a young Johnny VTV.
Exactly, in the field.
Yes.
In the field. I couldn't hit as well as he could. I was a good hitter, but not great. Pitching wise, I was probably on par with like a Carter Holton. I was a Carter Holton type. At my best, I was unhittable. I had a disgusting pickoff move. Sometimes just for the fun of it, if I was getting bored, I would let people on just so I could pick them off. Like, I've racked up like 6 or 7 pickoffs in one game, just absolutely unstoppable.
So you were a lefty?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that.
I'm a lefty. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I would just get bored and let people on so I could pick them off because I needed a challenge.
That's awesome. Where did you go? Where did you play?
In Seton Hall Prep.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Good stuff. All right, let's get into a little college baseball action here. But before we do that, I got to tell you a little bit about Fantasy Alarm All Sports subscription. Get an all-pro access to Fantasy Alarm for the award-winning DFS playbook covering 10 different sports, plus fantasy football and NFL betting content, tools, podcasts, the Discord chat, all that good stuff. For a limited time, you can get all of this for 50% off your first 6 months with promo code ALARM50. Again, that's ALARM50 at fantasyalarm.com. So get started with your free trial today. That's promo code ALARM50 at fantasyalarm.com. All right, Johnny, let's get into the betting situation here. You got some lines out about some games. At this point, when we're recording this, we're unable to get Tennessee, so unfortunately, we're not going to be able to talk about my Vols, who got postponed yesterday on Thursday night. Let's start with the SEC. Let's go number 5 LSU at the Georgia Bulldogs.
Yeah. Okay. So LSU. This is the most bizarre thing ever. It's the books have finally caught up to it. So LSU yesterday opened as a -300 favorite with Paul Skeens. They win. Typical fashion, you would think the line for most teams, right? It would kind of follow suit and be the same thing the next day. Not for them. They go from a -300 favorite to a -195 favorite from Thursday to Friday, game 1 to game 2. Why? Because the pitching for LSU is that bad. Their bullpen is that bad. The only reason that they garner that much attention in game 1 is because of Paul Skeens. And we've gotten hurt a lot like this when I'm trying to bet against LSU over the last month, where the book has finally caught up to realize that they are not capable of competing pitching-wise throughout the whole series. And I think Georgia wins game 2. I got them at +160, and even if you're on FanDuel here, you can get Georgia at +168. And I think they might win game 3 as well. This is where I would love to have a series price. Georgia's got a guy by the name of Charlie Condon who went 0 for 6 last night, which is almost unheard of. This guy's probably going to win Freshman of the Year. I think we're at a point where he passed South Carolina's Ethan Petrie. That kid's not going 0 for 6 2 nights in a row. Georgia's got a guy by the name of Charlie Goldstein throwing on the mound today against Ty Floyd. LSU has no bullpen. They burned Thatcher Hurd yesterday, their freshman, who threw 5 innings, over 50 pitches. They lost talented freshman Chase Shores, Garrett Edwards. It's not looking good for the LSU Tigers. So if Ty Floyd gets bounced before 6 innings, I think Georgia has a very good chance to win this evening. I got them at plus 160. I think there's a real chance that they might win the series because LSU is in a lot of trouble here.
Let's roll it up with the Bulldogs there for Georgia out in Athens. I almost went by Athens last weekend. I was in Augusta, and it was funny. My girlfriend and I were road tripping it back to Chattanooga, and we were like, man, like I wish there was a Raising Cane's. You ever have Raising Cane's?
No. We were talking about fast food before. We're talking about chicken's filet. Our guy Jared mentioned something about Bojangles, which I never heard of.
Raising Cane's, I've heard of.
Nah, bro. I'm from North Jersey, bro.
I was gonna say you've never gone to the South then.
Nah, I lived in Tampa, but wouldn't eat that.
That doesn't really count. That's not like the
South. Tampa's the South. Florida's the South. What do you mean? It's not the.
It is the South, but it's not like it's not like that type of South. Like I don't know. They probably have Bojangles, and yeah, like Jared said, I'm from the Northeast, and I know Bojangles.
I don't like, dude. We had Publix. I love Publix. I'm a big Publix guy.
I mean, literally, Jared just asked like how far the closest Bojangles and Chick-fil-A. It's literally like right in town. Like they're right here in Chattanooga. Like you don't even have to drive that far to a Bojangles or a Chick-fil-A. They're right in town.
I'm thinking about doing something I've never done. I don't DoorDash. I'm not a big DoorDash guy. I might get DoorDash and get Chick-fil-A. I'm like,
man, you're feeling lazy on a Friday.
Dude, bro. I don't use DoorDash.
I don't either.
I don't even own DoorDash.
I just deleted my DoorDash.
It's peak laziness that you can't go buy your own food. Plus, not to mention, there's like crazy delivery charges. And
that's the worst.
And then before
the delivery
you know
charge is the worst.
A simple $12 meal costs you like $35. Like,
it's insane. It's insane. Like, you can't get in your car and drive your ass somewhere. Like, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. All right, let's stick in the SEC because I like to keep it with the conferences here. Let's go to the Florida Gators, who are favored at the Kentucky Wildcats, who are coming off of a series loss to the Tennessee Volunteers last weekend.
Yep, I took Florida at minus 150, quickly moved out to minus 165. To me, I still think Florida wins this series. They win today with Brandon Sproat on the mound. They ended up throwing Hurston Waldrop in game 1. Not sure why they decided to change, but Florida has played much better as of late. They look like they're locking up a top 8 seed, which is good to host a regional and a super regional. Not really sure if they have a shot to win the SEC, but in any case here, Florida's going to play to win. It's a high price against Kentucky, who still has an outside chance to host a regional just because that's what seemingly the NCAA wants. And all the people like on D1 Baseball want Kentucky to host, even though they really don't deserve it. Neither here nor there. I think Florida in a parlay with Wake Forest is pretty good. If it makes you happy, I guess lay the 165, the 150, something I'm more comfortable with. I probably wouldn't want to lay anything more than 160 with the Gators, even though I do think they get it done. I think now with the price that it's at in a parlay with Wake, who's throwing Josh Hartle, is probably the best course of action, in my opinion.
All right, the last SEC game we want to touch on, the number 2 Arkansas Razorbacks. A lot of teams in the top 5 here for the SEC. The Arkansas Razorbacks going up against the Vanderbilt Commodores here on Friday. How do you view this one? This one is it's pretty even, as you see there from the line.
Yeah, this is the same line as yesterday, and Arkansas was an absolute smash for me. They put it on Vanderbilt, and I think now this is the tough game because the Commodores are throwing Devin Fattrell. Devin Fattrell has been one of the, if not their best pitcher all year. He's been one of the best Sunday guys. Now they're throwing him on game 2 on a Friday. This is the matchup that I worry about. Arkansas, I think if they win today, they sew up the SEC East. I'm not 100% sure on that. So Dave Van Horn is probably going to look to just win one of these next 2 games and lock up this series for the number 2 Razorbacks. I would think today Brady Tiger might open up, and depending on what happens, then Dave Van Horn might throw Hunter Holland. So the issue is we don't know for sure pitching is. So I today I probably would just half unit play Arkansas because they are the better team. Vanderbilt really is struggling hitting the ball. And excuse me, in case Futrell isn't as sharp as we think he might be, I don't really see Vanderbilt coming away with this series. So I think maybe the prudent way to do is if Arkansas loses today, then you definitely bet them tomorrow. Otherwise, bet them today. If they win tomorrow, then I wouldn't even bother with the rest of the series.
Speaking of being sharp, how about let's talk a little bit about best ball. Invitational draft. It's best ball season, and you can learn winning draft strategies from the fantasy football experts of NBC, Sports Illustrated, RotoWire, Fantasy Alarm, and much more. Watch the Better Sports Best Ball Invitational Draft now playing on the Better Sports Network YouTube page. Then draft your own best ball team on Underdog Fantasy and get a deposit match up to $100 using promo code Fantasy Alarm at fantasyalarm.com/underdog. Speaking of underdogs, that is exactly what the North Carolina Tar Heels are at number 7, the Clemson Tigers. Talk to us a little bit about this matchup, Johnny. Do we see a bit of an upset here with an underdog, or are you going towards the Tigers?
No, I rode with Clemson last night. I'm going to ride with Clemson tonight, and I'm going to ride with Clemson tomorrow. I felt coming into this series that this is a sweep opportunity. Clemson can't afford to stumble. For some reason, meaning that they're hot and they've won 6 straight series, and a lot of these other teams that are way better than them have not been playing well, and they've completely fallen off. So Clemson, almost by default, is the number 7 seed. They don't deserve to be this high, in my opinion. They don't deserve to be hosting a national seed. I got into it with Clemson fans earlier in the week because I didn't agree with D1 Baseball's assumption that they should have moved 9 spots from last week to this week. But nevertheless, the Clemson Tigers are the right side. I think they're probably going to sweep this series. They need to make sure they win because that'll solidify themselves as most likely a top 8 seed. And they are the better team. North Carolina just doesn't have the horses. They have 2 guys by the name of Vance Honeycutt, who really has taken a step back from last year, and a guy by the name of Matt Horvath, who's had a really good season. But to be honest, the pitching isn't there for UNC, and I'd be surprised if UNC won today. And I think the fact is Clemson's going to continue to get bigger on this line, and they are the right side. They're playing incredibly hot baseball right now, and the Tigers should be en route to a sweep this weekend.
Speaking of the Tar Heels, I know we hadn't really talked about the Tar Heels too much, but a couple weeks ago, our boy Matt Harvey retired, former UNC Tar Heel great out of Mystic, Connecticut. So I'm sure he wouldn't be too happy with that, but that assumption from you that Clemson's going to sweep. But he probably still keeps up with his alma mater, and he's lost his fastball and whatnot. So I'm really curious as to what Matt Harvey's going to do after baseball now.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't really care what he does, to be honest.
Why do you hate Matt Harvey?
I don't hate him. I don't hate him at all. I'm not really interested in keeping up with his life. I'm not interested in keeping up with many people's lives after they retire. Unless I personally know you, I don't really care what you're doing in retirement.
I think it's interesting to see what these dudes do after being in athletics.
Hopefully he stays healthy, he's happy, and that's really it. But even Andrew Luck, I didn't really care what he did when he retired. I was really upset, and when Andrew Luck called it a career, and
Are you a Colts fan?
What?
Are you a Colts fan?
No, but I like Andrew Luck.
Okay,
I was a fan. But
you hate Stanford, though. You always talk about how much you hate Stanford in the Pac-12.
That doesn't mean I don't like Andrew Luck. I just don't think Stanford's a Pac-12. I don't think they're a program that really is that good at sports. I think they're the best of a bad conference. They'll have some good teams every now and then, but they're not a legit threat. But that doesn't mean I don't like Andrew Luck. Get real. What are you talking about?
Speaking of the Stanford Cardinal, not Cardinals, the Stanford Cardinal, which we discussed last week. They're the number 3 team in the nation right now. I'm sure you're not believing in that. They're going to be at Washington State. They're going to face the Cougs this week. What do you like about this matchup?
They pulled out a dramatic win last night with Quinn Matthews not on the mound. They elected to not throw their guy in game one. Maybe they wanted to keep him on regular rest, not really sure. Stanford doesn't really have much to play for this weekend. They already locked up a top 8 seed. They locked up pretty much the Pac-12 regular season. I think at this point they just want to probably play to keep momentum going. 175 I'm not comfortable laying with, even with Quinn Matthews, because this weekend I do feel like Washington is a pesky team, even though they're not good and they're at home. But aside from that fact, I do feel like there's a possibility that Stanford could be a little unmotivated. So to lay this big number isn't something that I'm really looking at. I probably would look at maybe throwing Stanford in a Wake parlay or Coastal, something along those lines. Just get them to where their VIG disappears, and you could build a little bit of plus money with them, because I do want to get a piece of Quinn Matthews tonight, but I don't feel confident in laying this big, heavy number because I do feel like Stanford is definitely capable of losing this weekend, just because the fact is they're probably not mentally all there, and they're not really having to play for anything, if we're being honest.
All right, our last game that we wanted to touch on was number 6, West Virginia, and the Mountaineers traveling to Texas and Austin and facing the Longhorns. Longhorns are favored in this game, so talk to us a little bit about this one. Is this an underdog spot, or are we sticking with the Longhorns at home?
Second night in a row, West Virginia's favorite underdogs, and I'm taking them. Last night, I purposely went against a decisive pitching matchup in favor of Texas with Lucas Gordon, and I acknowledged it, and I paid the price for it. We lost, no big deal, no complaining. Texas was by far the better team, and they didn't throw Ben Hampton, West Virginia. They elected to throw some reliever who barely got 25 innings on the year. But tonight, I said this even last night, where if the Mountaineers lose on game one, we're definitely betting them game two with Blaine Traxel on the mound. Blaine Traxel has been their best guy, and I don't think after getting embarrassed in the opening game, West Virginia is going to allow the same thing to happen. The Longhorns are throwing a talented guy by the name of LeBaron Johnson. He was a midweek guy earlier in the year, and he's earned his way into the starting role. Texas is throwing the kitchen sink at this weekend series because there's an outside chance they could still win the Big 12 regular season. West Virginia has a very narrow lead ahead of OK State and Texas, so they have to win this one. They can't coast. They have to win this. And I think with Blaine Traxel on the mound, we're getting plus money. I'm going to expect a big game from J.J. Weatherholt, the guy who's going to be a Golden Spikes Award finalist and a top 10 pick next year. Plus money, Blaine Traxel, West Virginia, Q Country Roads, because I do think they take down Texas. If they lose tonight, then things are going to really get interesting in the Big 12.
Yeah, certainly is, and so we'll take them on the underdog. The only underdog that we'll take today is West Virginia, sort of in terms of the money line and whatnot. But before we wrap up here, I want you to go back through all of these games and tell me which spot you're smashing. What is your smash spot for today? I know you mentioned some teams and some parlays and whatnot, but I wrote down I've got a smash category, parlay, and underdog, and we got West Virginia in the underdog. Am I hearing Clemson is sort of your smash spot for this week?
Yeah, today I would say my favorite smash spot is probably Clemson. I mean, I have a small card today so far. Like Tennessee, we couldn't get out there. West Virginia I feel good about it, but I don't feel great about it. I think that's like a 7. UGA, I actually feel really good at. Georgia, the Bulldogs, I feel really good at.
Okay. They're also an underdog.
Yeah, you know what the thing is? The prices that I got to the prices now may provide a little bit of differing opinions, but I feel like the Bulldogs are a really good play today. If you're getting the Georgia Bulldogs at anything close to plus 160, even if it's plus 145, that's good, man. Hit it. If I could bet a series where I would take Georgia right now, because I would think right now with Georgia being down one game to win the series, I would think they're probably close to like plus 400. I would take the Bulldogs. I think Georgia has a good chance to win this weekend for the rest of the series, and definitely win today. So Florida minus 150, I feel good at, but now minus 165 is becoming a little heavy for me. So
All right. Well, put together a parlay for the people as well that are watching, that are listening. What is something that you have on your card that you would suggest somebody build out for tonight's games?
So I could give you two parlays. One is the underdog parlay. That's
I like that.
UGA, West
Yep.
Virginia, Arkansas. That pays about like plus 917, something along those lines, 3-teamer. And the favorite parlay, the big favorites, Wake, Stanford, Coastal, plus 171.
Plus 171 right now. We like that. Okay. Well, it's plus money on both. Parlay it up and have some fun on a Friday night. And Johnny's going to go get some Chick-fil-A. He's going to have to do some research about Bojangles and Raising Cane's and Zaxby's and whatnot. And maybe just come on and visit me down in Tennessee at some point, and we'll go introduce you.
I've heard of Zaxby's.
Okay. That's good. I'm glad that you've at least heard of Zaxby's.
I'm glad I got the invitation finally to come down to Chattanooga.
Dude, you knew you've had the invitation to come. If you want to come down for the regionals and just like post up in the studio all week with me, you're more than welcome to. I got an extra bed in my house. Like, come on.
Really?
Yeah, dude.
We got to talk about this because you know what? Like, I could do something for the regionals, bro. Like, to me, that sounds like it'd be a lot of fun. I'm trying to figure it out. And like, the good thing is you could bet in Tennessee.
You certainly can.
The books are wide open, bro.
Wide ass open. That's right.
Tennessee. All right. We got to talk about this.
We'll talk about it. No doubt about it. He's Johnny VTV. I'm Greg Larnerd. Jared Moore behind the scenes, keeping us going here. Appreciate him as always. Follow us up on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all that good stuff at Bettor Network as well. And again, find us every single Friday here on College Baseball Done Bettor. We'll see you next week.